Hi, this is Rick Emmett of Triumph and also Rick Emmett the poet. And you're listening to Brent Jensen, and this is No Sleep Till Sudbury.
Hey, this is Brent Jensen, and you're listening to No Sleep Till Sudbury, the show where we talk about the music that makes your skin vibrate. The show is brought to you by Storyfora. If you want to create your own podcast but aren't sure where to start, Storyfora can help. Go to Storyfora, that's PHORA.com for details. Now, I also want to give a shout out to one of my favorite podcasts, Famous Lost Words, hosted by two friends of the show, songwriter Christopher Ward, the original Much Music VJ, as well as Tom Jokic, longtime Chum FM morning show producer. Tom and Christopher play highlights from some of the best interviews that you've never heard. They tell stories about the artists, from the serious to the absurd, and they have a lot of fun doing it. Among the many regular features is something called When Rock Stars Attack, which Tom has talked about here on No Sleep Till Sudbury. From John Lennon to Taylor Swift, all your favorite artists are on Famous Lost Words. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. I highly recommend the show. All right, today on No Sleep Till Sudbury is part 2 of my chat with Mr. Rick Emmett. In the last episode, we talked about the making of his new project, the 10 Telecaster Tales. And this week, Rick and I continue that discussion, and he's going to play a little bit. I also want to mention that this Friday, March 21st, Rick and I will be recording 2 episodes of No Sleep Till Sudbury in front of a live audience in Collingwood, Ontario. So if you're interested in being in that audience, go to either Rick's Facebook page or go to www.blackbellows.com for details. Blackbellows.com. Okay, here he is, Mr. Rick Emmett. We are back, Rick Emmett.
Brent Jensen?
You've got your guitar in your lap.
I do.
Babs is ready to go. Now, I just want to talk a little bit more about that book before you get started.
Sure.
So I love the sentiment of your books, and we talked about that before. I just think that they're written in a very authentic way, and we talked about humility and all that. But one thing that you said, and this is true of your entire career, you said, music for me, the music that I make, is almost like a mirror, so that people can kind of see themselves in it and, feel their feelings as a result of the mirror being there. And I've always agreed with that. I've always kind of looked at music as almost like alchemy, in the sense that we take from it what it is that we think we need, especially when we're young, because we're so dialed in to music, and we take from songs what it is that we think that we need.
Yeah, I think music exists in a way that it allows people to find kind of what they're looking for. And sometimes they're looking for reflections of themselves. Let's imagine that there's a political party that you don't really like the way they think and what they're doing. And so then you're going to be looking for music that sort of reinforces these emotional kinds of reactions you're having to what's happening culturally, sociologically, You can go to a museum and walk around, and you're going to have reactions to what you see, because it's what have human beings been up to? What costumes were they wearing, and what kind of armor did they have, and what kind of porcelain cups were they drinking out of? Whatever. But you're seeing reflections of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's lovely about music is that it is sort of language without words. It's emotion without the messy screaming, yelling of somebody right there who's getting all snotty in your face. There's a humanity that's available in a way that it goes in your ear and up to your brain and makes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't like it, hey, you don't have to listen, or there's so many other kinds of things you could go ahead and listen to. You're going to find something that is going to make those connections inside you. But then the lovely thing, of course, is that you have this communion, so that let's say, you're a live concert, which, I talk about this in the Telecaster Tales because I talk about David Byrne and his book,
Yes.
How Music Works. And how he talks about a live performance, there's just no way around it. And that's true. There's just nothing like a live performance because there's a communion there, which when you're alone and you're listening to a record, or I'm a musician and I'm making a recording, it's not the same thing. The communion is happening on such a smaller level, because it's only me and Blair in the box,
Right.
or you and me and this guitar sitting here in this room. That's not to say that there can't be moments that are surpassingly beautiful, where it's really only just one person experiencing the music that someone else is making.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen, believe me. It's happened in my life, I know, to a performance just for one, or a performance just in your living room for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Those moments can be surpassingly beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
Incredible, indelible. You're never going to forget them. But I also know what it's like to be in front of 250,000 people.
Right.
They're all going, bang my head, like that's a pretty amazing kind of a feeling too, and that sense of communion that's the beautiful thing about music.
The S Festival.
Yes.
That must have been so unbelievable.
Yeah, yes.
Was it almost too big?
See, the thing is, of course, said the guy sitting with Brent Jensen telling stories. We're all about stories, and human beings are all about. So when something happens and it happens on that scale, there's going to be stories that get told, and they're going to get told over and over and over, and then mythology is going to start creeping into this. It's not going to be necessarily what it actually was. It's going to be the story about what it actually was, and then everybody's going to remember it different, and it's been a long time since it happened, but it did happen. So I'm allowed to tell stories.
Of course.
Allowed, but the truth of it is, here we are on a day where we're not. This day isn't really about us. It's really about all of these California bands that have made it so that, oh my God, hundreds of thousands of people are showing up because Van Halen is the headliner, but Motley Crue's on there and
Ozzy, Scorpions.
Yeah. So yeah, now not all these are English bands, and Scorpions are German.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But I'm just saying the heavy metal day. The reason that the numbers were so amazing was because there were all of these California people showing up for California things. So Triumph is playing in the middle of the day, and the Van Halen people are going, "Who gives a flying?" And that's kind of what it was like. You're in the middle of the afternoon. People are tired. It's really hot. It's really dusty, and people are begging the guys to spray them with the hoses because they're hot and dusty and dirty. And the drugs that they took at 10 in the morning have worn off. They don't want to do the rest. They want to save them for when Van Halen comes on. So we're sort of in the middle of the day between the drugs. But the mythology side of it is, here's this band from Canada. They're dressed in white. These guys are outliers. This is not, heavy metal day. It's supposed to be, where's their studs? Where's their leather? Where's their
makeup?
Judas Priest, they came on stage on Harleys.
Right.
Where's their Harleys? So we were different. And then we had songs that were different. And our songs were like, hey, you should believe in yourself. Fight the good fight. You know what? Music it's got a magic power. Like there were these things that were messages that were not heavy metal messages.
Right.
Although a heavy metal crowd could kind of go, oh, wait a sec, this is real. Because metal people, they do like real.
Mm-hmm.
They like their real, But here was another type of real, and they went, no, this isn't too bad. This is pretty good. This is kind of real. Look at that. That guy can play guitar, man. He might be as good as Eddie. Now, I'm not saying I'm as good as Eddie. There was nobody as good as Eddie at doing what Eddie did. But I was pretty good at being Rick Emmett.
Mm-hmm.
And what Rick Emmett did was the kind of thing that people went, whoa, wow. So that day was a pretty cool day. And I had a pretty good day. My singing and my playing was pretty good.
Absolutely.
Day. And I think it helped cement my reputation on a level that was already pretty good. I was a guy that had been writing in Guitar Player magazine for 2 years by then. 3
right.
years. So, All of those things play in. But, we're here to talk about Telecaster tales.
Right.
And, the truth of it is, there I was in 1983, trying to do something in that moment that was about me in that band, playing those guitars in that moment. And that's all it ever is.
Yeah.
Here I am at 70, and I'm still just trying to take a guitar and be me. How can I be me? And it's not that egotistical thing of, how can I get a little bit more of me in there? Like, it's more like you're still just trying to figure it out. You're still trying to find your way to the music that's expressing what it is that you're all about, and then make a moment happen, that is like a moment where people will go, oh, I was there with him in that moment. Even if they're just hearing, Rick Emmett playing on Brent Jensen's show, they'll go, oh, that was a moment. And now I heard it. I was there in that moment because I heard it,
Yeah. Now, there are 10 songs on this record. I love the insights that you provide in all your books, and you provide a great one in this one about what's called a controlled composition. The reason why there are only 10 songs on here and not 11 or not 9 or whatever is because...
when I was a fledgling in the music business and I was, learning about how things work, contracts for record companies had a thing in it called a controlled composition clause. And really this became a thing because of what the Beatles spawned. Because the world used to be a world where a songwriter wrote a song, a publisher pitched it to producers had artists in the studio, and, that's how it worked. A singer, Frank Sinatra, was going to sing somebody else's song. But then along came these bands where they wrote all the songs themselves. And so record companies, in their typical, nefarious fashion went, oh, we could create a clause where if they wrote the songs themselves, we won't pay the full amount. We'll only pay a 3/4 mechanical rate, 75% of the money, and we'll only do it on 10 songs. So that'll be the clause we write. And then we'll just say to them, I'm sorry, that's a non-negotiable clause. That has to be in there. Bands were forced to accept it. And so there was no freaking way I was ever going to give a record company more than 10 songs because they were already squeezing me for 25% of what they were supposed to pay me for mechanical royalties and stuff.
Right.
So that was it. 10 became the sort of the magic number. This is where you stop.
Is that like a prevalent thing? Because there's so many records that have 10, and I thought maybe there's only, you think about the physicality of the space on a record. Maybe there's only room for five and five.
Would you like an education?
Please.
Yeah. So a CD can hold up to 72 minutes of stuff. You need to keep a minute or two back because of the metadata that'll be on there. The thing that tells the CD player, this is track number 7, and it's entitled this, and the screen will say this. That's metadata.
Okay.
So you need a certain amount of space for that on a CD. You could squeeze 73, I think, 72, 73.
Okay.
So an album, you can get up to about 20, 22 minutes aside without too much loss of stuff. You could put more, but then what happens is the grooves started getting smaller, and now you can't fit the same frequency response into the groove. But when you had to cut, people go, I think vinyl sounds best. And you go, yeah, well, that's because you never had to cut a lacquer. But, back in the day when I was a young whippersnapper, you couldn't put too much bottom end near the end of a side, because if there was too much bottom end in the groove, it would make the needle skip out.
Right.
Boop, and then like across the side, you'd have this big crash. So the heavy bottom stuff had to go near the front. But then if your classical guitar piece, it doesn't have too much bottom end, you can put it near the end. So that's why classical guitar pieces and, Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but it doesn't have, it's fine at the end. Because you can put all kinds of stuff there as long as the frequency range doesn't get too wide. But not if you've got, bang, bang, bang with a bass that's honk, 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 honk. That's got to go right at the front. So vinyl, you can fit about, optimum, I think, is about 18. 18 minutes aside.
Okay.
So you're at 36 minutes, But you could get up to 40 and you'd be all right. But you don't want any more than that. So that was the shtick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking back to all the albums of that time, they were all within that time frame, more or less, right? I mean, there were exceptions, obviously, but
People think, Brent, that it's music business is about music, and it's not. Music business is about business, and the business is about technology, and the technology is the delivery systems. Always. The story that I used to love to tell in my business classes was the guys are sitting around at the Sony table. And, the music division guy's going, listen, Springsteen, he's making a lot of noise about his publishing and blah, 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 and his records. And, you guys over there on the other side of the table, you're making cassette machines. And, like, people are ripping them off. They're making copies and dubs of it. And you're making a machine that dubs a cassette to a cassette. And you're ripping him off. He's not getting any of his publishing money. The president of the company at the head of the table goes, uh-huh. He goes, now, record company guy, how much did you make for me last year here at the table? And the guy goes, well, I made, $8 billion. He goes, $8 billion. He goes, publishing guy, how much did you make? He goes, I made $12 billion. He goes, $20 billion. And he goes, cassette division guy, how much did you make for me last year? $44 billion. Ah. Okay, you guys on this side of the table, shut up.
That's great.
Because that's how it played out. I was a fly on the wall. I was there. But I'm telling you that it's always been about the delivery systems.
Yeah.
And they're going to invent another one. And then it's now we get it's the thing about MP3s, like record company, but Sony was looking around the table and going, which one of you guys makes the chips that goes into the computers? How much are you making? And the guy goes, I made $240 billion. And he goes, oh, okay. So we don't give a shit really about you guys. You just, do what you can to stay afloat. But we're going to just sell the chips and the things that go into the computers and the phones. How much are we getting for phones? Phone division? How we doing? We could go right back to the 1890s. I think I say this in the Telecaster tales somewhere about player pianos, and that's when it all started.
Okay.
Pumping the pedals.
Yes.
And so royalties became, they didn't even want to pay the songwriters. They were going to make the rolls, the piano rolls, and they were just going to, the piano roll company and the piano players, the player piano companies, we're going to just keep all the money. And they go, no. They went to the Congress in the United States and they said, this isn't right. And they went, okay, we'll give you a penny. We'll give you a penny for every roll. I went, okay. And now we get about 9 cents. We're over a century and 30 odd years later, and we get about 9 cents now.
9 cents.
So sometimes less.
5. I actually thought it was 5.
Yeah, well, it fluctuates.
I guess, yeah.
But because every year it gets renegotiated. Yeah. Okay.
So let's play some guitar. So now I had suggested a couple of songs. You're free to play, obviously, whatever you want to play from this record. The ones that I had suggested were So Pushy, which we heard a very brief version of last year.
Oh, yeah.
Burley Town, and of course, Funky Scratchin', which was my favorite. You played that last year.
Yeah. Did I play the whole thing or did I just play little chunks?
I don't know. I think you did play the entire song.
It's hard for me to believe that I did, and I'll tell you why. Because
I
still have a hard time playing my way through them. Like, when I recorded them with Blair, I had to do some edits because I had a really, these are not easy things for me to play. They have complications about them.
Yeah.
That from a technical point of view, just make it hard. And I'm not getting any younger. That's the bottom line, is my hands. And the other thing is my brain. I go, where does it go? Oh, is this variation for this verse, or is it this variation? I can't remember sometimes, and my brain just goes, stop. I go, okay, I got to stop. I'm sorry. I'll have to start again. So if that happens in any of these, just bear with me, folks. I'm 71 years old.
Absolutely.
This shit happens,
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, can I start with? Can I pick the order I'm running at these? All right.
Artist choice.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Burley Town because I think it's the easiest one to get. It's more of a strummy song than a picking one. So strumming makes things a little easier. It's I can concentrate on my left hand more than my right. Anything you want to know about this tune? Anything we should talk about before I play it?
A little fun fact about this: it's actually it references Burlington, I do believe, doesn't it?
It is. Like, originally I was calling it, in its original state, I was calling it the Burleytown Groove.
Right.
Man. The Burleytown Groove.
That's what you called it on the last show. Yeah.
Because Burleytown to me is a music town. And I had this reggae thing, and I was thinking about how reggae is kind of the most embracing of all forms, of all styles, of all genres. To me, anyways. And there's a spiritual quality to it, but it has this incredible rhythmic pulse that, I've always loved. And I've used it before in old Triumph songs and stuff. And then songs that I wrote on my own later. So people are going to hear little bits of, Fight the Good Fight kind of showing up in this. And
I heard that.
Yeah. And it's in, the most generous of all guitar keys, E minor. A lot of my pieces are in E minor because I was looking for a lot of resonance. I was looking for open string things, harmonics, So I think of the 3 things we're going to play for you today, 4 things, sorry. They're all in kind of open string keys. So Pushy's in A minor. Gee Whiz is in G and E minor-ish, but, G. They're related keys, relative harmonics. And Winter Nocturne's in E minor in Burleytown. So anyhow, anything else you need to know about this? Should I just get started?
Take it away.
Okay. I think I'm going to do this one. Should I do this with a touch of chorus or not? I think not. I think I'll just do this clean. Okay. And here we go.
Well done.
Ah!
How did that feel?
That was all right.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I've ever had to try to, well, other than the recording, that's the first time I've ever had to try to get all the way through it. So
I thought it was great.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that's nice about that one for me as a player is I can kind of physically commit to some places, and then it's just naturally got these places where you just pull it right back, and you get small and little and quiet and
Dynamics.
muted. Yeah, so that dynamic range of it is kind of fun. But there's in the chorus it gets something going there. That's a pretty long stretch. I'm having to get the bass note on the low string in the 3rd fret, and I gotta get that high B. Everything else about it is relatively straightforward, but that one thing is always going to be there. Like, the chorus is coming. That one stretch.
Dexterity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long reach.
Yeah.
But that's not that hard.
For you.
I can't go.
Wow. Zach Wild. Jeez.
That one hurt.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we have next? That was Burleytown. Are we gonna do?
Shall we try So Pushy next?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Let me turn. I'm gonna put a little chorus on this.
All right.
On the amp. Now, when I did the thing with Blair, we used software inside a computer for effects, and here I'm just playing through the same Roland amp that I used for the record, but I'm putting the effects. And when I was writing them, I was fiddling around with all the knobbies here and finding different things, going, oh yeah, this would be good, like a phaser, oh, a flanger, ooh, a chorus, oh yeah, And my original inspiration had been the Hejira album that Joni Mitchell had done with Levy. I can't remember who the engineer was. Anyways, it was right when Roland had come out with the jazz chorus amp. So this idea of being able to put chorusing, stereo chorus on, so you could play a guitar, but you'd have this kind of
in real time
washing. Really cool. So that was the first time it had ever been used extensively.
Really? Yeah.
I'm sure other artists had been doing it here or there, but for a whole album, they used a lot of it.
Before that, you had to put it on post recording, right?
Yeah, and people knew how to be able to do chorusing and flanging and all that stuff because you could use tape heads to do it. You could flange something by running a big tape loop, and it was going onto the record head, and then it was blah blah blah. So boxes did exist for years. In Triumph, I had an MXR Phase 90. It was a little orange pedal with one knob switch. And I used to use that for all, like my 12-string guitar would always have that kind of chorus flange sound, yes.
One of the cool things about the book is that there is an addendum at the back written by Blair, who was the engineer.
Yes.
And by Steve, who mastered. And it's got all of the kind of explanations. Like it's got all the details about all the effects that were used, all of the techniques that were used to capture the sounds.
Yes.
Right down to the fact where they had to make adjustments because of the acrylics that you have on your fingers.
Yes. Yeah, and in some of the pieces, and I'm not going to play them today, but there are some where I'm doing a lot of kind of, like it gets loud and it gets messy because I'm really banging away, And then we're going, I don't know what we're going to do about all that scratchy nail stuff on the strings. My God, it's really creating a lot of sibilance and artifacts, as they like to call them.
Artifacts.
Like it's stuff that's on the tape, or not the tape, sorry, but on the recording in the digital information, and you don't want it.
Yeah.
So it's an artifact. It's not necessarily what you were intending to create. So how do you get rid of the artifacts?
Yeah.
Okay.
They explain it. Okay, so next.
Okay, So Pushy.
So Pushy.
This is autobiographical because I push across bar lines. I anticipate notes. I'm speeding up. I'm a typical guitar player. I'm in a hurry to get finished. So that's about that. This also started life when I'd written my poetry book. I wrote little music things just to get from one poem to another. And so sometimes the poem would be about something and this idea of reinvention, and I had this little 12-bar bluesy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I turned it into this piece. So,
all right.
So pushy.
Take it away, sir. Oh man, that is fantastic. That was really something.
It's a little out of tune.
It sounded great.
Thank you.
I like that little thing that you did in the E shape. That you did it twice, in the middle of the song and then at the end.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. What was that little? You're playing. It looks like you're playing an E chord.
Yeah.
That up there.
I don't know.
Do.
I don't know. I use it for that.
There.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're asking about. There's these. I like these.
That's it. That.
Yeah.
That's a cool little lick.
It's like a Lenny Bro lick. And then.
Right.
And then. And the last lick, I played it here, but it should have been here. I
Now it
went
is.
to the wrong octave because my brain, went, hey, I don't remember. And then I was doing it, and in my brain, I'm going, you played it in the wrong position, you idiot.
You got away with it.
I did.
Oh man.
But partly, no one has ever heard this before, so they have no
There's
way.
no reference
they have
point.
No frame of reference. Sounds a little out of tune. I'm going to tune. Go ahead, talk. Ask me something.
So that's 2 for 2. Now, we're going to do. How many more do you want to do?
Oh, why you're gonna?
I want to hear the reason why I asked.
2 more. You'd asked for Gee Whiz and Winter Nocturne, so
Yeah,
we should say Winter Nocturne for the end because it's the moodiest.
that's what I was thinking. So we can end with that one.
So Gee Whiz.
Okay, let's do Gee Whiz next. Now, one thing that I do want to say while you're tuning here, is that in the book, again, it's such a great compliment to the music because there's all the the technical information and all that stuff. But also, what you do after every write up of the song is you provide a picture that looks like a diagnostic of the song in the sense that it's all the tablature, but it's not,
It's not tablature. Most of it is just literally my scribbling. And I don't write music on music paper. I kind of write notes, and I write the names of the notes. Like if a lick goes E, like E G A, I write E G A. And sometimes I don't even write note values or anything. I just remember, oh yeah, that's how it goes. But I'll just generally just write the stuff out. And then I'm showing you that it's literally from this binder that I wrote from MSV. So for you listeners, I'm pulling out my blue binder, which is my Telecaster's binder. And I just took pictures of my phone of the charts that I had in here. So you see how there's a little tab so that I can find my way to the Telecaster section. So there's one. Yeah. And so I can remember A sections and B sections and then, where do I put repeats in? And so it's kind of like a chart, but it's not a chart on music paper. It's just a chart on foolscap.
It's a chart for Rick Emmett to interpret only because it's literally dizzying. I looked at it. I can't really, I know what it is, but it's involved.
Yeah, no. And some of them turn out, here's one for Cowboy Waltz. You can see sometimes I scratch things out so much that the ink starts turning black, and then I go, yes, that's no good. Do I want to rewrite this? No. I'll just put it on the page before, and I'll put an arrow for this section. Wow. It's too much of a dog's breakfast now. Go over here and go through those sections. Yeah. So because I will. This probably is say the 3rd version of a chart or the 4th version.
Oh. And
even then I go, I don't want to have to do it again. So that's why it ends up some of them get so dense and so mucked up.
Wow.
Yeah. Lots of scratch outs. And he's laughing as I'm leafing through the thing and he's seeing how much black ink there is. Yes.
Well, a couple pens worth in there.
All right. So,
Gee Whiz.
Gee Whiz. Okay. So this is sort of, I always liked the Joe Pass world of jazz guitar playing, and it's kind of old school, Ed Bickert kind of tone. For sure, that's sort of where I'm coming from on this. But this is really old school in the sense that I'm not going to put any effects on this at all. Just going to check the air. So there's just a little bit of reverb, but this is just
dry, clean,
straight. This is my hands and the guitar.
Perfect.
And what else can I tell you about this? Really hard to play. So there may be a few edit points in this for
all right.
But
Good Lord. That's incredible.
My hand is just so sore by the time I get to the end of that.
Oh, I guess.
And it's not even that long. It's only 2 minutes and 59 seconds.
But again, it's dexterity. Like it's so many shapes so quickly, right?
Yeah,
so like watching you play that was a little bit like looking at your tab book. There's just so much stuff going on.
Wow. But the thing is, it all makes sense. I mean, to me anyways. And certainly to a jazz guitar player, he would go, yeah, there's no big deal. But for a rock guy to attempt something like this, then that's more like, oh, no, we'll give you props. Yeah, that's, you know, you're working hard. That's some good stuff. But these kinds of things, like a progression that goes, that's kind of nothing for them. Those guys,
It's the
you know,
same
the guys
shape.
like Bucky Pizzarelli that played on the Merv Griffin show, you
Yeah.
know, when I was a kid, like to him, that was nothing. All day long, that's what they did, you know, those kinds of chord shapes and kind of playing. And they'd have a chart and they'd read that stuff, you know.
But
never seen it before, and they just read it.
But there's so many shapes. You know, you think about rock, and sometimes you'll just ride like an A, you know, and it's like you get to stay on that for a little while. Then you go to a G or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
But you're playing like, you know, literally every second you're playing a different shape.
Yeah, well, there was a guy named Marty Gross.
Okay.
And he didn't play in standard tuning. He actually had a different tuning. Music from that era, when the 20s were turning into the 30s, there was a lot of tunes that were like novelty songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him once, and he did a thing that was like, I got a chord for it. I got a chord for every note I sing. And it was like that. And I went, okay, man, I got to have something like that in my repertoire. And so I wrote Taste of Steel, which was all that kind of stuff. So it was like... This wide world around you gets unreal. And then we'll sex appeal. You better make time for a genuine taste of steel. So, et cetera, et cetera. So I had this thing in my repertoire. And I tell this story in 10 Telecaster Tales where I'd written the song and I'd worked it out and I learned it and I played it for my manager, Ross Monroe, at the time. So, sitting in my basement on Atoka Drive in Mississauga where I lived. And I had the studio. And I played it for him and he looked at me and he was kind of sad. And he said, Rick, it's great. It's amazing. But it's never going to be a hit song. Like the world is not made for that kind of music anymore. What kind of a guitar player do you want to be? What kind of a musician do you want to be? What kind of an artist do you want to be?
Right.
And I said, I want to be this kind.
Yeah.
But as soon as you make a choice like that, you're just saying, right, so 98% of the music business, I'm just saying goodbye to it. Because that's not what the music business is not about that. It was about that way back in Marty Gross's day.
Right.
You know, but it's not like that anymore. But it's kind of one of the shames about the music business is that it's always been predicated on exploiting whatever you can sell the most of through the technology that you've got.
And slotting.
Yeah.
So saying...
creating genres and stuff.
This is your box.
You know, as soon as you got a genre, that's soon going to become a ghetto. That's soon going to become something that's long gone and forgotten.
Right.
You know? And it's too bad. I mean, you know, you were talking about Rick Beato earlier. Like, he's got a rant where he's taking out a Led Zeppelin album. And have you seen it?
I saw that one yesterday. Yeah.
And he's going, you know, we used to worship this stuff and look at the credits and read the liner notes, and the tribe would form around what this thing was, you know.
Yeah.
And I never bought all the way into any tribe. Like Led Zeppelin. Man, I remember that. I love that. Those albums came out when I was in high school, and they just changed the world. And the world had been a sort of a Beatles world, and now it was becoming, and in my world, it's sort of been a Deep Purple world.
Yeah.
And now it was becoming a Led Zeppelin world, you know. And that's the way those kinds of things worked. But I would also go and hear a church choir sing, and I would go, oh my God, this is so incredible. I want to be in this club too.
Yeah.
I want to be in this. And then I would go and see a jazz guitar player play, and I would go, oh my God, I've got to learn how to do this. there was nothing that I sort of discriminated against in order to love something else more or devote more time to it.
Right.
Now, having said that, there's stuff that I couldn't care less about, or it didn't turn my crank. When somebody was playing me, I don't know, Ornette Coleman, I was going, this is a little too far out for me. I'm sorry, this doesn't speak to me,
Yeah.
If it's fine, if you like it, fine, that for you, but don't try to force it on me because I'm sorry, But I did have a very indiscriminate taste, like pretty wide.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think it worked against me, not for me, because the music business doesn't work that way.
I don't know if I completely agree with you. I get what you're saying, but think about Suitcase Blues, for example.
Yes.
Okay. So, bold statement on a Triumph record. We talked about this previously. The other guys said, yeah, you can put it on there. And it's a complete departure from what Triumph was recognized to be, in essence, which was a hard rock band.
In an era where there were things like progressive rock bands. So Triumph would be able to sort of benefit, maybe we can sort of, it makes us seem, Rick Emmett in Triumph made the band more progressive than it really had any right to be seen as, because it wasn't a progressive band.
Right.
The other guys in the band were not progressive in any respect.
Right.
And would admit so. Like, I'm not putting them down.
No, God, no.
They weren't. But to put an old jazz kind of tune on a record, that was kind of progressive thinking. Now, let's get back to my point about the music business. Let's say you're Queen and you write Bohemian Rhapsody and you go to the record company and they go, no, no, no. And you go, well, too bad. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to do it. Whether you like it or not, we're going to do it. Because Queen was the kind of band, they were so commercially successful that they could hammer that home. They could make it happen. Triumph was never in that position. And RCA Records was never going to think about trying to do anything with Suitcase Blues. No. That's just there as salad dressing. That's not the meat and potatoes, So that's what I mean about music business. There's certain things that drive it. Yeah. And Suitcase Blues doesn't drive it.
It doesn't in that way, but how about in a lesser degree? So like Fight the Good Fight, there's elements of reggae in that.
Yes.
Right? That was clever on your part because you said it's not Suitcase Blues. It's not obvious, but maybe I'll more subtly or...
Yeah,
I
would give Gil some credit for that. As we were arranging the song, he was kind of the one that was going like, I want to play this groove. Like I was playing, and he went boom, hack, boom, hack.
Yeah.
Like I'm but he's going hack. So that halftime feel against the chicka checky checky choco chicka, it kind of makes it so it's implied.
Yeah.
This bop 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 bop
Right.
bop. Yeah. And Levine loved reggae. If you ask Mike Levine, what's your favorite band? He would say Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Really?
So it was there. It was a part of the band's ethic.
Yeah.
I'll give credit where it's due. It wasn't all me, but that was in an era. We're talking 1981. 1981. You could get away with stuff. You can't get away with that now. It's gone out of the music business. Not out of some band that maybe decides, well, I'm not going to have a major label deal. I'm just going to do it indie. I'm going to do it my own way. Sure, that exists now. You could do it. But what about trying to get, 12 million plays on Spotify? It ain't going to happen if you're too, esoteric.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And especially if one cut is one way and another cut's another way. Because that's not how the algorithms work. You
right.
know, if you want your song to get in, it's got to fit into that thing so that, somebody somewhere, some kid with his earplugs in, or some housewife somewhere, or some guy that's sitting at work and he's got a playlist, and then the algorithm suggests a new song for him. It's got to fit into whatever thing he's already established as, this is what I like. This is where my tribe lives.
Yeah. Somebody Somewhere might be a good song title. Nah, it'd never work.
somehow, somewhere, something, somebody, somehow. Yeah. Well, I got lucky there too. That was kind of a dog's breakfast, that tune. Like going through my, I showed you this workbook. Like I have 3-ring binders where there's tons of ideas. And so I had to write the song in a hurry, and I'm going, flipping pages. Oh, this is, circle this idea. Rip this page out. Oh, 12 pages later. Oh, here's an idea. Maybe that'll work. Rip that out. And so then I get like 10 pages.
Frankenstein.
And go, steal this. Yeah, Frankenstein. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just heard that.
It was kind of like that.
3 days ago, I heard that on the radio on Boom.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's amazing how, I'm not even playing with my left hand now.
Love that.
Right? And the other. It's just very simple melody motif, right? Like, but it works, right? And they wanted a commercial song. I go, you want commercial? I'll give you a commercial.
Oh, is that where that really?
Oh yeah.
Did they say like we want a commercial song? And...
Mike Klink was the producer.
Oh.
And yes, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Yes, Florida Kings, and the record company had said it's a great album. We love but we don't hear like an opening song to get us on radio. We need an opener, kind of what can get us. So come on, give us something that says triumph, that radio will go yay. Something that's peppy, something that's major key. Like they didn't say any of this. They just said we need a lead single.
Yeah.
And so the guys, Mike Levine and Mike Klink, the Mikes, said, Rick, go home and write something. And I went, okay, I'll see what I can turn around in a day or two. Because we only had about a week.
Wow.
And so I went home and I wrote that, and I made a demo, and I brought it back to the band. I said to the guys, we're not changing anything. You guys are not going to triumphize this. Let's just do it the way I've written it. It had a modulation in it. So you get past the second chorus, and it's like David Foster shows up. It goes from the key of D to the key of E. It has a full step up.
Wow.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's very
Okay.
cool. Okay. So, Winter Nocturne.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a little bit of a delay on this. I might deepen the reverb just a touch. This is a song about the deep, deep midwinter. There's a lot of sort of grieving in this to try and get that out. The idea of moonlight on frozen snow, gentle snow kind of falling, or the way the wind blows, and then you see off the cedars the snow just kind of falls. So I had this chord progression. I thought, there's a piece in this. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. And then I went all the way back to Moonchild, the first guitar piece that I ever recorded on an album, which was on the first Triumph album. So key of E minor, but then the harmonics, the open string harmonics. And so that kind of gave me, all right, that's going to sort of be the bookends for this. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're talking about here. Yeah, Winter Nocturne.
Take it away. Whew. Oh, I've heard all these songs, but like hearing them and being able to watch them being played adds a whole new dimension. It's so just fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it.
It's interesting for me because I have never performed them live ever.
Oh,
So this is kind of the first time I'm trying to get through them, other than with Blair.
yeah.
And performing for Blair here, it's good. It's not a bad thing. Like I do my game rises to try to play something for Blair.
Mm-hmm.
That's as we're trying to create it. Now it's done. They're created. They exist. Now it's a question of can I
Replicate it.
Can I remember it? Can I get through it? Can I imbue it with this moment? Can I find something between you and me that I can play it? And so it's good for me. I go, this is good. If I ever had to play these live now, I think I could, I wasn't sure before today whether I would be able to do it. And, you're going to have to edit some of these a little bit,
Yeah, sure.
in order to get them together. But, now I go, no, okay. And they're not emotionally getting the better of me intellectually. Like I can remember them. I make a mistake. I go, oh shit, okay. Well, you'll have to fix that. But I go, give me a couple more kicks at this can and
Yeah.
I'll know these. I'll be able to play them. I'll be able to get through them. And the truth of this too is that it's raised my game because this is a lot more challenging than anything I've ever in my whole life ever tried to do as a group. 10 songs that are on this level that challenge my ability to play.
Oh,
That if being an artist is that you're trying to define yourself, the question you asked earlier about the mirror and stuff,
yeah.
then this is a pretty authentic 70-year-old Rick Emmett portrait. Like I pushed myself right as far as I can go.
Truly.
But I just got through them. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too much of a disaster. There's other shows I've done with you where I did end up in tears. And today I didn't end up crying. So that's a big win for little Ricky right here.
I actually told that story. You say this is funny and this is like priceless for me because you did that. We were talking about it. I can't remember who exactly we were talking about, but and that's a great thing because that means that you feel it. Right?
Yes. I think I was talking about Jimmy Webb's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
Yes.
I think. It was one where we were doing stuff about, songs that just really matter to us. And you had some of yours.
Yeah.
And I had some of mine.
Yeah.
And it was just like that when there was a tender open spot and the knife just went right in and right to my aorta. And it twisted. It twisted. It hurt.
But that's a validator to me, right?
Yeah.
And I've done that. We've all done that. So there's nothing wrong with that or anything. I mean, it's if anything, there's something good about that.
Yes.
But
your show is predicated on it.
right.
Yeah. So, and these pieces, they matter a great deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I'm talking about here is that also that element of like a self-control, like a performance, you do have to be self-controlled in order to get through it.
Yes.
Mentally, physically, technically, all of these things.
Emotionally.
And this is a challenge for me, these
Yeah.
pieces.
Yep.
But I didn't do too bad,
Yep.
I had a few clams, but I didn't do too bad,
Well, the funny part of that story that I was getting to is that after that happened, you said, "I'm just going to go to the bathroom," and you came back and you sat down right in front of me. And this is like the second time I was here. I think it was before the time that you mentioned.
Uh-huh.
And you sat down and squared, looked me right in the eye, and said, "Jensen, I ask you to come to my house, and you make me cry. Why do I keep inviting you back to my house?" Because it promotes musical connectivity. That's why there's a connectivity opportunity there.
Absolutely. And the thing too is that in my dotage here, like in my left the music business and now it's just a hobby kind of world, I go, how can I do it so that I'm really enjoying what I think is the most vital and real thing to do, to talk about, to play, to obviously these pieces are incredibly self-indulgent. There's no record company on the planet Earth that would want to sign a guy that's doing this kind of stuff, But Brent Jensen will let me talk about it on his podcast. So I go, okay, well, shit, that's good. I can, it'll help get the word out,
And I get a lot of people responding to this stuff saying, wow, people from the States, people from the UK, from Norway.
Great.
So
all those Norwegians. Well, they're my people, really.
Evidently.
Okay, here's a good story.
All right.
So I, as part and parcel of now being a published author,
yes.
I now do things like, a speaking engagement at the local Burlington Public Library on a Sunday afternoon. So I go there, and it's sold out. Like there's people in every seat, and I go in and I sit down and I look out and it's a sea of white and gray hair. Like it's just, there's nobody. Well, there's a few, but I'm just saying, it's like, and I turn to the guy who's interviewing me, and his name is Parampreet.
Okay.
And Parampreet is a Sikh, and he's got the full beard, man, and he's got the, the turban.
Yep.
But he's also read every word of my book, and he is sharp. Okay. This guy is one of the best interviewers I ever had, right? And we're sitting there, and, he's looking out, and I'm like, are we ready to go? And I look at him, I go, Parampreet. I go, these are my people. It's the senior citizens of Burlington, These are my people. And, now he's killing himself laughing, because, of course, his people are a little different than my people.
Oh, that's funny.
But here we are. This is a very Canadian thing, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Here we are at the public library. And he's, I think, their, I don't know, entertainment director or whatever. Ah. Like he's the guy that's supposed to book talent and take care of talent and make sure that the programs are full of, whatever authors are coming in and blah, blah, blah. And, this is Canada now. This is...
Absolutely.
This is the face of it.
Yeah.
Multicultural, so it was quite great. It was something that I really enjoyed, and not getting any younger kind of thing reinforced that notion. Yeah, geez, all right, okay. All right. Well, this has been fun, man.
This has been a lot of fun, as always. Thank you so very much for making yourself available for this. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
And I just want to say that, when you're driving home from my house in Burlington all the way back to where you live in Brooklyn, I want you to think of me fondly, that I talked for so long that I put you right in the heart of Russia.
Perfect. Curse you, Rick Emmett. All right. This has been No Sleep Till Sudbury with Brent Jensen and the legendary Rick Emmett. Until next time, folks, take good care.
Brent Jensen is the best-selling author of No Sleep Till Sudbury, Leftover People, and All My Favorite People Are Broken. All titles available in stores and on Amazon worldwide.